Welcome to The Complete Musician, creativity at its core, exploring innovative musical ideas, thoughts, and techniques for the modern musician in today's society, with your hosts, James Nagus and Drew Phillips.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Complete Musician Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, James.
And I'm Drew.
And thanks for joining us again. We are now on episode 7. Already 7.
Wow, we've already got 7. Yeah, so I'm the host today. I apologize for my voice. I just finished 3 lecture classes in a row, so I sound like I've got intense laryngitis, but I promise I'm okay. So forgive me if my voice cracks or I sound sick or something.
Oh, that's no good.
So today I decided to kind of go back to the roots of our podcast when we decided to make it. And, you know, we think about being complete musicians, but, you know, what does that mean? And I think we've hinted on it before, but one of the things that's really important and the topic of what I want to talk about today is marketability and the opportunities that are associated with different kinds of marketabilities that you can have as a musician.
Yeah, making yourself well-versed across the many arms of music and making it for employers to be like, yeah, this guy can do this and this and this, we want him, that kind of thing?
Yeah, because we know that as musicians, like our playing, first and foremost, has to be excellent. We have to be superior at our instrument. That's a given. But we know that's not the only thing that you can be good at in today's job climate. You've got to have other interests. You've got to have other things that you specialize in to differentiate yourself from the rest of the crowd. So I was thinking, what does set us aside from others in our job field? And I came up with some ideas about some things that if someone was looking to be more marketable, they're not just looking to be a horn player, or they're looking to maybe even find their own niche in the world, like what other things they can do and what other avenues that they can take to appear different than other people around them.
I think that sounds great. And I think one thing, I mean, we're horn players, so we specialize, and we can talk from our experience on horn, but I'm sure a lot of what we're going to talk about applies to any instrument or any musician, period, whether you're an instrumentalist or even a theorist or a musicologist. I think the principles probably still apply.
I think so too. So I was going to focus in this. I was going to focus on musical kind of things first, and then branch out into non-musical things that you can use to make yourself more marketable.
Awesome.
So the first thing I thought, obviously, I guess because of us, is being a composer and composition. Mm-hmm. We have set ourselves aside, at least you and I, as writing music, original music for some people, and we've had some success with that. And not a lot of people are doing that, or at least not a lot of people I know are getting a lot of their stuff played, right? Like, especially not as nationally or as internationally as you are, right? You've had quite a bit of premieres, both nationally and internationally.
Yeah, I've been fortunate over the last several years to have a lot of my pieces played. And, you know, for whatever reasons that happen, I think one of the things that contributed towards that is, writing music that was accessible for a lot of people. And just writing a lot of stuff and having a lot of music, not just one piece. But I think, you know, writing in general even just thinking about part writing, for every 100, disaster draft pieces you have, you might get one good one.
And that composition, you're right. You just had to start it. You just had to do it and just have so much output, because so many people don't start because we know it's scary and overwhelming to come up with the ideas of what to do. But once you start, it just keeps rolling, and suddenly you have a lot of output and you start gaining more experience. And following some of our other podcasts on composition specifically, you can better manage and limit the way you can do it so that writing becomes, like you said, more accessible, not only for yourself doing it, but for the people you're writing for.
Well, and I don't know about you, but when I started writing it certainly wasn't because I was like, oh, well, one day I want to be more well-versed in music.
No.
So I'm going to start this now. No, it's because I think we both started doing it. It's because we enjoy it and it's fun. And a lot of people probably don't enjoy it, at least initially, because, well, they haven't done it.
Right.
or they've only tried just a little bit. They've only dipped their big toe in the cold water instead of just jumping in.
Yep.
And once you do it, it does get more fun. And gosh, we could talk about and we have other uses of composition through pedagogy and through other uses, but I don't think we have enough time to even get back into those today.
Right. But yeah, composition is just one of those avenues that you could take. Obviously, starting is the best thing to do if that's even something you're interested in. But it's definitely something that can set you apart if that's something you're interested in. Another thing that I think sets people apart, other than just being great players, is being great teachers. And I think for us, at least, it really helps that we've had experience because we both got our bachelor's in music education. That gave us a lot of teaching experience, and we've also had experience and sought out places that we can teach others in many different venues.
Yeah, and you get the argument a lot for strictly performance majors or soloists. Well, all I'm going to do is be a soloist, or I'm just going to play in an orchestra. I don't need to teach. And to them, I say, I have never encountered a professional musician who is not also taught at some point in their life. It happens.
They have to realize that if you're going to be great, someone's going to want to learn from you. Right.
And, we go through school and we take lessons, and people go to master classes, and they spend a lot of money learning from these people. Now, you're not always going to be in that room with that teacher, so why not make yourself a teacher so you can help yourself get better outside of the lessons where that's the majority of your practice time.
Absolutely. And getting better at teaching and getting that experience just opens up so many more doorways for you. I think if, as a teacher, in my opinion, you become a better musician because you learn how to self-diagnose your own problems by diagnosing others. And it also gives you a much better relation to people, which people skills we know in this industry are just so important and paramount.
Right. Being a good person is one of the critical points of success.
Right. And teaching opportunities, obviously, you don't need to be, if you're just looking for experience at that, I think it's important for young musicians to have that opportunity. Or anyone, you can always seek those out by finding people who want to take lessons from you. And anything. Little kids, especially, I've worked with beginning band in middle school before, and those kids are so hungry for knowledge that you don't have to know much to help them out, and that's some of the best experience. But teaching at, like I said, little kids who are just starting band for the first time on, like I said, specifically the horn, but it could be anything. It absolutely could be any instrument. Trying to find places where you can teach, like maybe summer camps, those kind of experiences. It doesn't have to be specifically music, actually. Just the act of teaching is in itself invaluable.
And trust us, the first times when you start teaching, and even maybe after you've been doing it for many, many, many years, you will learn more from teaching your students than sometimes you feel you even teach your students. It's an ongoing process, and no one's a great teacher when they start.
That is so true.
But just doing it helps.
Absolutely. So the next thing I thought about, another avenue that you could take to differentiate yourself, and you know more about this than I do, is technological knowledge. I'm thinking that in with like music production, recording, and maybe even audio engineering. I know you've had experience in those kind of things.
Yeah, it's technology in music. It's been opening up so many doors, both in terms of the fact that one can you can produce, record, edit a whole CD of yourself, and then you can put it on iTunes or burn CDs all yourself. And that's, in the grand scope of things, a relatively kind of recent trend. And in terms of composition side of things, technology has, for me, opened up a ton of different doors through the use of MIDI technology and music notation. Programs like Finale and Sibelius, it takes whether it's whatever you're writing or even assignments, analysis, it takes it to the next level by making it something that's presentable and something that looks professional, and that's huge.
So yeah, and I know you've had a lot of experience with that, and I think from myself, who, be honest, I'm not 100% tech savvy, not like you are, since you're the one who puts these things together, and I would probably just burn a building down. I wish I had that knowledge. Maybe it's something I'll look into in the future, because I'd love to know more. But having those skills of not just being able to engineer some audio to a really high level, or record professionally, or any kind of music production skills, that absolutely sets you apart and can make you invaluable, like I said, to other musicians who want to work with you and want your help.
And there actually are complete degree programs. I mean, here at University of Central Missouri, we have a music tech degree, and it's fantastic. And they learn, Max MSP and recording things, and a lot of the students go on to do audio work for major pop artists, or recording for, in big studios, and because this is the direction that a lot of the industry is going. And so we as educators and we as musicians have to keep up.
Liberty does the same thing, and I know there's a major here that puts students exactly where you were talking, but that stuff I think is really important and can really make you marketable to a lot of people,
and give you the tools to also make yourself just look better in your portfolio and just across the board.
Absolutely. The next area I thought about this is instrumental repair. I think you and I can name just so many great horn players who are fantastic musicians, but they've really made their living as repairmen and helping out other players.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like Ken Pope. I mean, he's huge, especially in the horn world, and he's not only a great player, but he's a fantastic repairman and has his own business, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, Scott Bacon over at Siegfried's Call,
Yep.
and Jan Ballou, who are these horn players, but also master technicians and craftsmen, and people who, at least in our horn world, are really working to try to even advance the horn and make horn playing easier. And that's an invaluable part of music industry. And I think for you as an individual, if you're looking to incorporate some of these things, there are many kind of job shadow opportunities, or even if you're just getting your instrument repaired by a master repairman, just see if you can watch and see what he does, she does, and take some notes and learn some tips and tricks. And real quick before we go on, just a quick word from our unofficial sponsor.
Hey, dude!
Hey, bro!
Where you chilling at this weekend?
I'm going to the Spit, Drip, and Slip Water Park for brass players in somewhere, California.
Tubular!
Yeah, bro, I can't wait to ride the Loogie Hawker.
I like chillaxing in the drool pool, but don't worry, bro. It's just condensation.
But are you brave enough to go on the backwash burner? It leaves a gnarly taste in your mouth. Whoa! I'll see you there, bro.
Totally!
Spit, Drip, and Slip Water Park is not affiliated with anyone or anything ever and does not actually exist and is not an official sponsor of the Complete Musician Podcast.
Yeah. Another area, I'm just jumping around here because I feel like there's so many different areas. Another thing that I know sets us aside specifically is that we have a major secondary instrument skill. Now, for us, I would call that piano. Now,
Also, I thought you were kazoo.
oh, well.
I read a bio somewhere where you were a kazoo player
I did.
from the age of 3.
Yeah, something like that. Someone wrote a biography like that for me. Maybe I'll dig that up one day. But, I think we both play piano to an ability that we can accompany. And I think that's a major draw for people. We, at least as teachers, can accompany our students. And I know we've both accompanied at different workshops and recital, too.
Right. For me, I played piano at these regional and international horn workshops, at least 3 or 4 of them before I even played horn at one of them. So that says a lot right there, I think.
And I think if people are looking for someone who's a well-rounded and complete musician, I think the fact that you have this expertise and this knowledge and a certain level of prowess on another instrument just makes you able to reach a wider range of students and provide a different kind of outlet of knowledge for those students.
I think that's absolutely correct.
Not saying that you have to be great in piano if someone's trying to be more marketable, but there are other instruments you can be. I mean, there are so many people I think we know that are great on all of the brass instruments, or maybe have like string knowledge or something that can make them just again more marketable and able to reach more students.
We say, marketable, and I think I just want to make sure that we kind of define that in a little bit. I think a lot of the way that we're thinking of is especially the academia type careers, because the reality is that with universities and schools having reducing budgets and smaller faculties, people are going to have to double, triple, quadruple dip, and the more you can do, and the more especially you say you can do, assuming you actually can do it, that's what makes you marketable. The fact that you are able to be utilized for a number of different facets.
And that segues perfectly into what I'm going to say next, which is you can have other musical disciplines knowledge, such as music theory, music history, conducting. For both of us, I know that we both teach not only horn and I teach trumpet, but I also teach musicianship or ear training, oral skills kind of classes. I've taught music theory, and those are skills that I introduced when I applied for this job that they absolutely grabbed onto and were really interested about. And I know that's the same for you in the classes you're teaching.
Right, yeah, I'm currently doing an ear training class. I've devised an ear training class for Kendall Betts Horn Camp, and this semester I was asked to do a introduction to rock and roll class, which I had never done before. But
which horn players are so suited to doing.
I know, we just have a natural tendency towards rock and roll. But because of what I've done up to this point and the kind of well-rounded or attempt at well-rounded in terms of history, musicology in these areas, it was something that I was able to put together and kind of understand, okay, this is what I'll need to do to be comprehensive in this regard and make it work.
And because of like some of my background, and I have a little bit of some conducting going on, nothing major, but when I was out in San Francisco and I was assistant director of the music festival out there with the Bay Brass, I led ensemble rehearsals with the youth brass ensemble. And that gave me the confidence to not only use some of my education degrees of running rehearsal, but feel comfortable really handling a group of brass players. And so when I introduced that on my job application here and said that that's something I'm really comfortable doing, they were really excited about it and helped me form my brass ensemble that's starting this year. So those kind of things, like you said, make me more, and it's marketability. I think it's like being wanted. The more you can do, the more that people are gonna want to take away from you, because you're not just a jack of all trades. We don't want to be just kind of mediocre at one or two things, but some of these things that we can do, that we have all this experience in, we can do really excellently too.
And it's really a case of the more you know, the more you know, and more is better.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other aspects too is we're focusing a lot on learning for our own individual sake. But if we take a step back and think, well, what's one of the end goals here working with students? Say you're working, in the case of the horn world, working on a Mozart concerto. It's like, okay, great. So you're working on the notes, the phrasing, fantastic. Okay, now how does this piece fit within the cultural context of when it was written? Okay, now how does this piece work from a theoretical standpoint? What are the cadences? When is it evaded? Okay, and you're already on such a more deeper level of understanding. It's going to probably be a lot more meaningful.
So those are a lot of the musical skills that you can have that apply directly to our job field. I also wanted to talk a little bit about some non-musical, other kind of other disciplinary knowledge that you can gain that can also make you a more well-rounded person. I'm thinking, and we've kind of already touched on it, if you got some training in running your own business, or maybe even taking some classes if you're in school, taking some classes in the business area where you are, that can help you in case you're thinking of like opening up a music store or a private lessons business, or working in some kind of music publishing company, or opening your own music publishing company. A business background is really fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I could personally use a little more work on marketing specifically.
Me too.
I know that would help me. So.
Me too. Another disciplinary or discipline that I think is really opening up, especially now with the newest advances in technology, is the science area, and specifically thinking of like neurology. I took a course in grad school called Music in the Brain, and it had so many different tests and case studies that gathered quantitative research for music's association with the brain and how it made us feel, and kind of what it affected. And I mean, there are tons of books written on it too, but that's really taking off too. So if there was knowledge in that, man, that could open up a whole nother like job field, or even research that you could accomplish things that aren't even discovered yet.
And music therapy in general is just a fantastic area. And there's a lot of work and research being done in the power of music, not just in daily lives, but for a number of different ailments and recovery processes. And I think, I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, me too. I'm not smart enough to be a scientist or neurologist, but, knowing a little bit more would be kind of neat. And then another discipline is the English side of things, maybe like writing. I mean, I think it's really necessary. If you apply for a job, you have to be able to write, because you have to write a cover letter. You have to make sure that you communicate well with the people you're applying for. But and maybe even journalism. Because I know for you and I, we're taking over those columns in the Horn Call. So we have to have a writing background that's A, legible, and B, is not illiterate. So we have to be able to convey ideas.
That'll help.
We have to be able to convey ideas and write well to get, what we want to across. But writing is a huge skill that can put you ahead in the music world, I think.
And again, in terms of the realm of academia, publishing is a very encouraged and a large portion of people's work, especially those who are, I guess I'll say, non-creative based. I don't mean that in a negative way, but a lot of research-based areas, that's what their output is. That's what their creative work is the writing part. And I mean, we do composition, which is publishing, but having that other arrow in your quiver is a good thing.
So those are just some of the ideas I came up with, both musical and non-musical. Like you said, making yourself as wanted as possible, able to do as many things excellently as you can, so that people will want to learn from you and learn all of these things from you.
Right. And the last one I'll kind of throw in there is, once you have all of these aspects, now it's your job to put that out there. So that last step is getting some knowledge in social media and web development and websites, and representing yourself in that regard. And that could be a whole nother episode too. I think it probably will be.
Yeah. And if you're a musician that your playing is excellent and you're looking for a way to diversify yourself, I remember an exercise, James, that you did when you did a presentation or a master class at UNCG, that you made this studio of horn players get into groups, think about their favorite kind of things or something they're really interested in, and come up with some kind of job that could involve both of those, finding their own niche and maybe some idea that's yet to take off. Maybe some that are not so good, but it could form a job that hasn't, or some kind of market that hasn't even been tapped into yet, by combining really different kinds of subjects.
In this case, and it's a simple activity that you too can do at home. It's just combine your hobby, or more specifically your non-music related hobby. It doesn't have to be, but it kind of helps just to be different. And music. So say you enjoy sailing and you enjoy music. Combine sailing with music. Maybe there's a new way to have speakers on a boat. Maybe there's a certain type of music that invokes sailing. I don't know. I mean, it's the sky is the limit, but try to come up with something that's never done that you are the sole expert on.
The day that James and I can figure out how to combine both Halo, Mountain Dew, Taco Bell, and the horn will be a glorious day indeed.
I think it's all the first three, and then the horn aspect is not practicing.
So those are some of my ideas on marketability and things associated with it and opportunities, but that's all I've got for today.
And that'll wrap up our episode. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Please go subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us on iTunes at The Complete Musician. You can email us at koromotohorn@gmail.com. Send us all thoughts and ideas about things you'd like us to talk about, or just, say hello. We like to hear from people every once in a while.
And remember, as Julius Caesar once said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me thrice, it's the percussionist's fault.